Hello and welcome to Dinosaur Man 64, your semi-regular, if irregular, gaming episodes.
Bleep bloop bleep bloop. I am a game.
I am Andy Hughes and I am Tom Nook. My Isabella is here in Alex Hudson. Or is it Isabel? Animal Crossing. How well do you know Animal Crossing?
I haven't played the original in a long time.
Basically, you are not Tom Nook. You do not have the...
There's lots of different characters. There's the dog who plays guitar.
What's his name? Civic Slider?
KK Slider or something like that. JK Slider?
J.K. Simmons.
No, I think he was rumoured to voice him in the film.
How are you, Alex?
But they never made it because the dog that they got couldn't play guitar.
Oh, no. It's a dog with human arms. They had to kind of stitch human arms onto him.
Oh, terrifying.
It was bad.
Because from what I understood, they were just going to use a real dog and then just put a voice over the top of it, like from the 90s.
Yeah, and that's what we all asked for, but unfortunately they did the whole arm stitching.
And I think it's terrible that Call of the Wild ruined dogs. Because with Call of the Wild, they used a fully animated dog,
Yeah,
right?
the Harrison Ford movie from last year.
Yeah, 2020 sounds about right. Yeah. I want dogs like from Cats and Dogs, where it's a regular dog and they try and like manipulate the mouth in post.
Or like Homeward Bound, where it's like those are definitely just dogs.
And they don't even make an attempt to make them move their mouths. Mm-hmm.
Or you go
or
Babe,
Wishbone,
where you have the mouths moving.
But he wasn't a dog.
He was a sheepdog.
He was a pig.
What? But he thought he was a sheepdog.
Well, I'm going to tell you this now about Babe. Babe's a dumbass.
Wow.
Because
coming in hot on opinions on Babe today.
I could have told Babe one thing. It would have been, "You're a pig, mate." Is it a plot point of Babe that they're going to get bacon out of him?
Well, he's been bred for food, I imagine.
Good.
Because it's a farm.
Yeah.
But he
has to prove his worth as a sheepdog.
He thinks he's a sheepdog.
That's not how animals work.
And then he's entered into a sheepdog tournament.
That'll do, pig. That'll do, pig.
Because Airbud rules, there's nothing saying pigs can't be sheepdogs.
The thing is, there is actually a rule saying that. So that's why I knew it was a film, not real. I knew it couldn't be a documentary. Mainly when the pig started speaking.
Well, welcome to this week's episode. It's been a while since we've talked games.
No, we talk games every week.
Well,
every other week. We don't talk about it on the regular episodes
news,
now.
But
yeah, but that's video games.
Remember this?
I've reviewed video games midway through a gaming news thing.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I've done that.
But yeah, so we thought we'd come back to this.
And also, since the last episode of games, Dinosaur Man 64, good name.
Which was a while ago.
Don't worry about that. It doesn't matter.
That's
when
good. We said it was irregular.
We said it was going to be every 3 to 4 or 5 months. Don't worry about it. We've been playing lots of games.
Yeah.
Because we now do a weekly live stream.
Yeah, that happens.
I'm presuming you didn't do one last week.
No.
So we actually haven't done one in 3 weeks now.
2.
But we've missed the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we're now 3 weeks away from that last one.
Yeah, that happened, guys.
I mean, the week before was because of boycotting.
Yes.
Which I'm sure we're going to have to talk about today. Because
did you want to talk about it?
I just think we should. We need to hold these people to account.
Twitch have come out and said, let's talk about this quickly then. Briefly, because those who maybe aren't aware. So there was a blackout on Twitch, which some people agreed with, other people didn't. But the point of it was to basically hold Twitch accountable, saying, because on Twitch people are entering chats of minority streamers and basically hitting them with what are called hate raids, where they've created a load of bot accounts that go in and they say like slurs and kind of horrible messages towards people, and they just spam the chat so it's all that you can see. And people are having to then mute their chat, and they're losing money for this because, sponsors are sponsoring their chat to be kind of lit up, and nobody is. The sponsors are then kind of withdrawing the sponsorship, so people are losing money. And people basically went, Twitch, you need to do better. Like, you need to actually come out and do something with this. Twitch came out with a statement last week, I believe, which was basically along the lines of we see the problem, we're working on fixing it, we will let you know in due course what we're doing to fix it, but we can't tell you anything about it because if we tell you what we're planning to do, people will already start working on how to circumvent it. And it kind of makes you go, but so you know there is a problem here, and you know there's a huge problem that is affecting people from specific backgrounds as well. But you're taking so long to actually do anything about it that you're leaving people powerless in the meantime. And yes, this email did have here's some tips of how to kind of stop chat, switching it to follower only mode and stuff like that. It's but you're not really dealing with the root cause. And I'll be honest, I don't know what the answer is here.
Well, there's an update from yesterday.
Okay.
Twitch is suing 2 users for their part in the hate raids that have targeted streamers, particularly, specifically people of color and LGBTQIA+ streamers as of late. So this is coming from Wired, which reports that Twitch filed the lawsuit yesterday in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California. It's been filed against 2 Twitch users, Cruise Control and Creatine Overdose, and the company believes them to be from the Netherlands and Vienna, Austria, respectively. No one should have to experience malicious... Okay, so that was the statement I think they put out previously. We hope this complaint will shed light on the identity of the individuals behind these attacks and the tools that they exploit, dissuade them from taking similar behaviours to other services, and help put an end to those violent attacks against members of our community, the Twitch spokesperson told Wired.
Yeah, so hopefully, if they get through that, it will discourage other people from doing similar actions. But yeah, the whole thing was basically being a case of, there are people in a vulnerable situation. There are big streamers who maybe have handled this kind of stuff before. But then there are smaller streamers who this is, a torrent of abuse being thrown at them, and they don't know how to deal with it, and that's not fair. One of the things I did say on Twitter, which I will reiterate, is there are some really good streamers who are in those groups that are being targeted, and probably go and find some, watch them, support them. You can watch us if you want, we're on there.
If you're interested in gaming, you ain't watching us.
No, we literally just talk nonsense for a while.
Plus, we're not good at games.
No, we're not. But we're Dinosaur Man Pod, but honestly, there are much better people than us out there. Go watch them, especially if they're look for those tags. I think there's an LGBTQ tag, and I think there's a Black Creators tag on there as well. Use those tags and find people in there. There's some really good ones. Shall we talk about the games we played on stream? Did you want to at all?
What do we play?
The Sims.
Sims was fine. Sims is Sims. Sims 4 is still Sims 1, just there's more stuff. And I think it's worse.
I actually think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Sims 2 is the best Sims.
But I also feel probably that's age-related as well.
Yeah, I suppose it's...
Because, you live a miserable existence now in real life. In the, mid-2000s...
Everything was good for me.
Well, just there were less problems. You don't have to pay bills or anything. You don't have to work.
Now I'm there oh God, I know how these Sims are living. It was a novelty before.
Yeah, it's I don't want to have to live another shitty life on top of my already shitty life. So I think Sims loses some of its luster.
Yeah.
When you're painfully aware of the fact that this is distracting you from the fact that your life is worse than these Sims. Yeah. And this is a Sims life that you're deliberately trying to make as painful as possible. So that's fun. We also played...
Left 4 Dead 2.
I felt like there was another game in the middle, but maybe not.
And I think that's the only 2 we played.
I played Left 4 Dead 2 while you watched. It's a weird experience to play it on your own because you become painfully aware of the fact that if you are trying to concentrate on just playing the game, it's fine. But if you're trying to concentrate on playing the game but also participating in the stream, because I played it afterwards, just on my own, and I was leading the kill counts for the team. But on the stream, it was very much a case of I was 4th on the stream.
Interesting. No one could see what was happening. You already were amazing.
Well, yeah, because I'm being more proactive in terms of my zombie killing.
Yeah.
So that was bad. It was a bad choice, I suppose.
It was a good stream, though. Like, we had a good chat at the end of it.
Yeah, but like that was after the game had been switched off.
It was like half hour of like this first load screen. And
actually, we lost listeners, remember? I mean, we lost viewers. We gained viewers and then we lost them. It went to places no one expected it to go to. You can't find it anymore. It's been deleted from the stream archive. Yeah, they only last for 10 days, I think.
Yeah, unfortunate, guys. You missed out on that one.
Anyway, but we'll be back this Wednesday with something. Yes. I don't know. We'll stream.
There's a game I might play this Wednesday.
Oh, God. Here we go.
But I will...
I think we should play a fun game. I think we should play Buzz, the trivia game.
There is a game we could play that I actually literally got for us to play together.
Yeah.
Which is Until Dawn. Which is the horror game that like involves it has like quick time events, but it's basically like you're playing a horror movie.
Okay.
Like you're basically playing a slasher movie. And I got it purely because I was like, oh, we would probably enjoy playing that together.
What about slow time events?
I don't think they have those.
STI is how it's pronounced. I think.
It's either that or so I actually played Hades this week.
Yeah,
like, I started playing.
I know you downloaded it. I saw it was recently played.
Yeah, so I had to go on that, and I've played so Hades is basically a roguelike. I think it actually has a term because it's one of those where when you die, you go right back to the beginning and you start again. But in this one, you can then buy abilities that will make your runs easier the next time round. So it's one of those, like, the more you play it, the easier it technically gets, in theory. And I don't think that's roguelike, but basically you play the son of Hades who's trying to escape from the underworld up the Mount... What's the mountain called? Olympus. To join the gods. And you're
Why try and join them?
Because you don't... It hasn't really said to me yet. I think that's kind of you'll learn over time.
Gods, get rid of them.
It's giving me a little bit of story, but basically you get like boons from the gods, like they give you like powers and stuff that you can use in the runs, and it's all pretty much randomized. But then it's also got mechanics where you can give gifts to people that you see, and that will give you other special equipment and things like that. It's really good. Like it's really like the combat and stuff is really fluid. What I realized though is there is one thing that you can get. But if I don't get that, then I'm not getting anywhere. Yeah. Which is basically, it like takes 60% of your health away. So you start with, say, like 60 health or something. You end up with like 20 health. But every time you hit something, you get +2 health. So basically, if you get hit, as long as you keep hitting stuff back, your health will keep going up. Otherwise, you're not getting your health back. So if I don't get that, I just die. Because
even with the higher health?
Yeah, because I'm not good enough to avoid hits.
I think you're going to die before you even get to hit them back.
So, using that one, I managed to get through the first boss, and I got right to the second boss, and I almost beat it. Like, I was like a sliver of health away, and then I died, which was really frustrating, because I was doing really well. But then when I went back and I didn't have it, I couldn't even get past the first boss. Like, the first boss just destroys me. And I'm like, okay, I see this as a problem because basically these runs are going to keep ending if I don't get that one thing.
Or you've just got to get better at the game.
Or I've just got to get better at the game.
That's what games are for, I think, right?
Yeah. These kind of games, though, I don't know whether or not they are something that I'm actually good at, which is a problem. So I'm going to give it some more goes. Like, I'm going to give it some more runs. Like, I think the story is really nice. In it, and it's like its art design is beautiful. Like it's such a beautiful looking game. But I am there also kind of in the back of my mind being like, is this just going to be one of those games that sooner or later I'm going to be like, yeah, this isn't a game I'm able to compute. So we'll see. Like we'll see whether it is one of those.
But you've played loads of these games before.
Yeah, but I never really get that far.
Celeste, is that a roguelike?
Celeste is more of a platformer, isn't it? And if you remember,
Messenger.
Okay, Messenger I never finished, and you know that, because I got to a boss and I went, that's too hard.
You got very far.
Celeste I technically finished, but that's because I turned on invincibility and just ran to the end.
Well, it's good that it gives you the option. Does Hades give you an option for invincibility?
I don't know, actually. I've not even checked. Like,
I mean, cheat if it does. So it's a cheat. You've also played Yakuza.
Yes, I played some Yakuza.
Which we spoke about previously on an episode of this, but you've been playing more to try and get to...
So, the plan is to try and get all of my...
Don't tell me about the thing that really annoyed you, because...
I'm going to tell you, because it really annoyed me.
But I feel like this is going to be a big story, and I don't know if we have time for this.
So, Yakuza, basically, I'm trying to get all the achievements, and I figured, I'll keep playing in... off, because I was doing it on stream. I was like, I play a little bit off stream, just get to the point where maybe I can restart the story, so I can then just play the story on stream, rather than people seeing me just kind of wandering around trying to find Majima. So I played 2 hours the other day, and I did all these missions, and I got all the Majima things, which I've been searching for. Majima is basically just this guy who wanders around. You have to find him, you have to beat him up. But I also had to play a load of mini games against him, which were frustrating as all hell. Beat him, did all that, and I was like, and it came up, which meant that I could get the final mission.
Yeah.
Which came up. And I went into it, and it's against this guy, and he beat the hell out of me. But I managed to kind of keep going, and I get him down, and he gets up and he's like, I'm back to full health again, like, you gotta fight me again. I'm like, fuck, I can't do this. So I was like, that's fine. I'll use my things, and I was like, I know how to beat him without items. So I was like, fine, I'll just lose to him, go get some items, and come back to this mission. The problem is, if you lose to him, you then give him 3 options. Try again.
Yeah.
Exit.
Yeah.
What is it? It's try again, something else, and exit. Basically, the options are, you keep doing this mission till you win, you quit and you get a game over screen, and you go back to your last save point, or you exit the game. The problem is, if you ain't saved it before that point, then you lose like 2 hours of gameplay, which is what happened. Like, I played for 2 hours
without able to save before.
Well, I didn't save. Like, I didn't think about it because I was like, if you just fail a mission, you go back into the game. Like, most games will go, okay, well, that's fine. You'll just respawn it, like thing. But it's literally just goes game over. Like, you're done. And I was like, oh shit! Like, the only way for me to go back now is to load a save file, and it seems my last save was. And it once again annoys me that Yakuza doesn't have an autosave feature. Like, it seems so archaic that a game doesn't have autosave.
But the whole game's archaic, right? It feels like a game
this
from
is the problem with Yakuza.
Days.
Like, I love the game and I absolutely adore it. But there are elements to it that I'm just like, just modernize it a little bit. Like,
but that's what part of the charm is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because I'm there frustrated, and I know I'll go back to it because but the thing is, I know I've got to do all that stuff again, and I really don't want to.
Was it difficult?
It's just lengthy and time consuming and annoying.
Save before you go
one
into...
One of it I had to do
save
that Pokemon
before you go
card
into a
stuff
big
again.
fight thing. That's all I'd say.
Yeah, it's
you know that you need to save.
But it's...
You've been caught out by this multiple times. This isn't the first time that you've got to a point where you're like, oh, my last save point was ages ago.
And I got so angry.
So angry. But you know the game. Anyway.
But it is that thing of me just being like, it is archaic.
You played God of War 2.
So.
No, you didn't. What
Sony
did you play?
Sony had a...
What's it called? God of War.
Sony had a thing this week. A presentation of games that are coming up, but they called me beforehand. They said, look, we want to do a trailer for God of War 2, but we don't want to spoil anything from God of War for you.
Because we know you're a fucking coward and haven't played it for 3 years.
So you've got to play it.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I have to do it? You've got to, because otherwise I've got to call up Santa Monica Studios and be like, we're going to have to pull the trailer, and that's going to upset a lot of Sony fans.
Of course.
So I went and I played God of War. Like, I plugged in the PlayStation for the first time in 2 years.
Yeah.
Blew off the dust. And went, okay, let's actually sit down and play a game that really I was definitely excited for and have just never played. So, God of War is basically it's almost like a reboot of the original franchise. I loved that as a kid. And this one, you were playing as Kratos. He's now in the Norse lands, and there are Norse gods. And you have a son. And they've changed the fighting mechanics, so you've got an axe this time that you can call back like Thor's hammer. And you're basically the story of the game is your wife has died, and you and your son must go take her ashes to the highest point in all of the lands to go scatter it. But between that point and that point, there is a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of things that stop you from being able to do that, things you have to overcome to get there. People loved this game. Like, absolutely. Like, it got Game of the Year and stuff. I know that they can now officially mark it up as a really good game because I also really enjoyed this. Like, combat-wise, it's so fluid. There's like 4 or 5 buttons you can press that do different things, but like pressing them always seems like it's that kind of combat that you feel like no matter what I'm pressing, it always seems like I've pressed the right thing.
Yeah.
I think the story is wonderfully written. Like like by the end of it, I felt like real tugs of emotion, which I think that like a lot of games go for, but I don't know how many actually succeed. But like this, you felt like you'd come on a journey with Kratos of like in those original games, he is just angry Greek man with 2 flaming swords that he throws around.
Yeah,
and you just are angry. This, you are angry man who also learns to soften a little bit, while also never losing who that character is. Which you need such a deft hand to play that, because it's so easy just to miss kind of, oh, we're going to either make him too emotional now, and therefore he's not the character he was, or he's just angry and stoic and you don't get any kind of character. It looks stunning as well. Like, it is probably one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. Having the character of Atreus to be able to kind of like his son, who's able to kind of join and help you fight, is like a really nice mechanic. I really like this. I found that I could hack my way through certain bosses, which was a lot of fun because they were very hard. And you know, it does have difficulty.
I feel like most games boil down to that for you.
Yeah,
can I hack my way through this?
But this, like, I still like. What was nice about this is there was a difficulty to it. So I play all games on like normal mode, and there was a difficulty to it where, like, every so often I would have to fight something like 6 or 7 times, but it never felt like it was too much. And it was like the perfect level where I was like, oh, I've almost got this, and that was the thing. It's always like, oh, I've almost got this. I only dropped the difficulty down right at the end after I'd completed everything and I'd got the credits. I went and did something and I was like, oh, that's really tough. I'm going to just drop the difficulty down. And then it was still tough, and then I was like, that's me kind of done with this game. I think I don't need that extra difficulty thing. That's not what I need.
And yeah, I'm the one who's accused of using baby strats. Interesting.
But up until credits, I was playing in the same mode. It was always like a reasonable difficulty, and I think it's incredible. Like, it's a really incredible game. Like, you saw some of this as well. Like, I saw
some of this.
And I don't think it's the kind of game you would play.
Absolutely not. It looks like my worst fucking nightmare. It looks like just a different version of Yakuza. You got to beat different people up. That's all the difference is.
Maybe this is what I'm good at.
Well, you clearly like button-mashing brawlers.
Things that don't take much skill.
You can hit a button and it hits and it feels like it's the right thing to do. That's your idea of the perfect game. Of course it's Game of the Year for you.
There's also some moments in it as well, but like, as somebody who really enjoyed like the original 3, like, you don't need to have played those first ones to understand this. You could go straight into this and play. But there are certain moments and certain character beats where I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. Like, there's a moment that literally made my heart kind of like start beating fast. So I was like, oh, I know what this is. Yeah, I loved it.
Is it good that now you can finally watch videos on YouTube that have spoilers for God of War in?
Yeah.
Because for the last 3 years you've been avoiding that. I know I've got it. I'm going to play it.
I've been avoiding Mass Effect 3 ones for longer.
Because I believe this was one of the ones where you claimed it was out of the cellophane, but I don't think it was.
No, it wasn't.
Interesting.
I did watch a 2-hour documentary afterwards on the making of those, because I loved it that much.
I mean, I guess good for you. It's just
I don't think you mean that.
Well, you know, it's just a shame that documentary wasn't made this year, because then you could count it as one of your films for this year. Whereas I'm gonna guess it was made in 2018 when the fucking game came out, not 3 years later when you've decided, I should really get around to playing this game that everyone's told me to check out. This game that I'm excited for was the word you use. Excited to play.
It's one of the reasons why I got the PS4 was to play this game.
And then it's almost like you forgot that you'd got the PS4. Isn't it interesting how you say, oh, it's a beautiful looking game? There's a whole new generation of consoles since this game came out.
Isn't it interesting that the PS4 still worked?
You threatened recently to buy a new generation console this Christmas. And I'm genuinely just like, why?
That if I get one, it's the Xbox One X, and it's mainly because I want to play Flight Simulator.
This is so fucking bullshit. Don't do it. Because the thing is, I know you like games and everything. I think you like games more than I do, certainly. But I don't think you like games anywhere near enough to justify spending £400 on a new console or whatever it is.
Absolutely, I can.
No, I don't think you can justify it. Because if I was to hold you to account...
Which you do.
Well, I try to, and then you try and fucking worm your way out of any difficult questions by going like, no, I've always wanted to play it. It's like, yeah, I know you've always wanted to play it, but it took you 3 years to get around to doing it. That's a very different thing. Look, I'm glad that you had fun with it. I'm glad that it was worth the £400 you dropped on a PlayStation 4.
Hey, I got loads of games for it.
Yeah, you did, and you haven't played any of those either.
I played Uncharted.
You played Uncharted, Spider-Man, and this, and that's it. Oh, and one of the FIFA story modes.
I didn't even complete it. I've started that like...
What the hell?
2 or 3 times.
That's not even a difficult game. That's just cutscenes.
Shall we talk about one game that you've played?
Well, I've played 2 games. I've played... No, hang on. I thought maybe Gas Station Simulator. Maybe that was before. Anyway, I played Gas Station Simulator as well, just in case I didn't cover this last episode.
Did you say Stimulator?
Simulator.
I thought you said Gas Station Stimulator.
Yeah, it's where you go and jerk someone off in a toilet in a gas station.
Finally, the game we all wanted.
I kind of played that game, I think.
Yeah, but just because you've done it in real life doesn't mean you played a game.
It's not called it's not called a game if you're doing it and you have to wash off your hands afterwards.
Real life is the real game.
Look, Gas Station Simulator was no good because they tried to make it too much of a game. And here's the problem with Coffee Shop.
Yeah, okay, so you played
Empire. Coffee Shop Tycoon? Coffee Shop Empire?
You played it.
I don't fucking know what the game's name is. Anyway, it's basically like, it looks like it's made by a baby, obviously. And I appreciate it's because, it's like a one-person team, basically, who's made this thing. What I like is all of the bits up until it tries to become something that I don't want it to be.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you set up a coffee shop and you run a coffee shop. But then you're also, when you get to a certain level, you unlock more locations. And I think there's like 6 locations in total. When you get to a certain level of, I don't know, reputation in the world of coffee or something, you then get to the point, or you've earned a certain amount of money, or your turnover is at a certain point. You then get to basically oversee your coffee shop empire from head office. But that's not what I'm interested in. I'm kind of not even that interested in having the multiple locations. It's interesting,
You just want one little shop.
But it becomes much more difficult when you've got the multiple locations to actually work on that. Because the idea is you become this tycoon of coffee. But actually, I'm not really interested in that because it takes me away from the day-to-day running of each of the coffee shops.
You just want to be there doing some latte art.
Well, how are you supposed to make sure that you're maximizing the profit? And I appreciate that everything about this game is designed to say, like, oh, well, by the end, you should be the best at running these coffee shops. But also, like, I can't guarantee the quality of the coffee in each of these places. So it got to that point, and I just was like, well, I'm not going to play this anymore because I'm quite bored by that idea. So I'm not going to play it anymore. It cost me like £5 or something.
That's a shame.
Maybe 15.
You enjoyed it for the first couple of days you had it.
Yeah, I played it for a few days. It's fun. Like, the mechanics of it are simple but fun enough. And I admire the fact that it was made by one person, basically. Yeah. Would I ever play it again? Probably not. It's my kind of game, but I've worked out that I shouldn't... Okay, so here's the thing. What's interesting about me is I'm like the opposite of you, in that when I buy a game, I actually play it, but I only play it for 2 days, and I'm just like, that's it, I'm done. So what I've worked out is neither of us should buy games because you'll never play them, and I will play them, but then I'll stop after 2 games. Yeah, I know you like having. Yeah, no shit, you're a hoarder.
I'm like the dragon.
We know that
Hobbit,
you're.
But like,
we know that you are Smaug. Look, is it good? Probably. It's fine. I think it's fine for what it is.
Yeah.
But I'd never go back and play it again now.
You ready for another timely review from me?
Yeah.
So Control came out in 2019.
That's
pretty sure it's 2019. Yeah.
2019. Yeah. Probably.
But recently it came onto Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided that was going to be the next game I played.
Mm-hmm.
And Control is basically you play a character who goes into this building, like the Federal Bureau of Control, and it's basically almost like the FBI but for weird supernatural stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you go in, you find the head of the office has been murdered, and you're instantly promoted to being the new head of Control, despite nobody ever knowing you. And you find out the whole building has been taken over by these creatures called the Hiss, and your job is to clear it out and basically get everything back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
I loved this. Like, I thought it's basically just a shooter, but like you get powers at the same time, so you can like teleport, you can throw stuff across the room using your mind, stuff like that. And I thought it was great. Like, I thought the story was really engaging. I thought the challenge is fun and enjoyable. It was a bit like God of War, where I think the challenge is at a good level, where at times I think it is fairly simple, fairly easy. At other times, like, it throws like these curveballs and being like, oh no, this is really going to challenge you now. A couple of things I don't like. Its load screens were horrible, which apparently are better on the newer consoles. But like, dying was actually terrible for you. Like, if I died, I'd be like, oh no, now I've got to wait like 5 minutes before it comes back.
Yeah.
Which, if anything, added an extra bit of like excitement to battles, because if I was dying, I was like, no, I don't want to load.
Yeah.
Secondly, this game crashed on me all the time. Like, so many times. Like, I'd be in the middle of a room and I'd be fighting somebody, but like all of a sudden there's maybe too many people on screen and they're trying to do too much, and the Xbox would just go, nah, we're not going to play this anymore. And like, I got ones where literally it turned around and just went, oh yeah, we're not going to run this game anymore, closing it. And I was like, what? I had ones where like it would freeze and it would just stay stuck there and I'd have to force close it. So maybe like I was saving like all the time in this, because there was one room I went into and the first 4 times I went into it, it crashed in the same place, and I was like, why are you doing this? Now, apparently, that isn't such of an issue on the newer consoles, but, you know, I still kind of expect it to run on my one.
Of course.
But apparently, so I speak to people online, and like, this is a common thing, like other people having it as well, so it wasn't just me. And it's a shame, because it's like this the one.
You thought you haunted the game or something?
I thought maybe it's just like my Xbox. You know, I've had it for a good number of years.
You keep threatening to clean it, and you never do. I should probably take it apart and get rid of any dust in there. No, the dust probably helps.
It still turns on.
It's part of the vital ecosystem of the internal workings of the Xbox.
If I remove the dust, like maybe the wires have learnt to live around it. So, you know, I'm just really damaging the way it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really enjoyed it, and like I said, it was just this kind of like blot on it. But the actual gameplay and stuff like that, like there's one level when you go through the maze and you'll give it. So there's this maze in it, and you can't get through it until a certain point where you're given a device to be able to get through. And you go through it, and the score to it, like the soundtrack to it, I had genuinely the biggest smile on my face the entire time. That was one of the most fun moments in a video game I've had in a long time, and it has these moments in it. I actually got every achievement in this, like the 1000G, whatever. I didn't do the expansions, but I attempted, and I might still do that at some point. Like, so there's an Alan Wake expansion, I believe, and then there's another one which is like just another part of the building. And I might go back because I did really enjoy it. But yeah, that's Control. I really like that one.
Another time near you played Spiritfarer, which came out in like 2001, I think. When did that come out? Because I feel like I remember hearing about it like 2 or 3 years ago.
I think it came out a couple of years ago. So Spiritfarer.
Dare we even check?
Spiritfarer is an interesting one. Because basically I played Spiritfarer after Control, I believe. And it was basically one of those I was like, I want a game that's just a bit relaxing now. I want a chill game. And I was like, I want a really chill game that takes me like...
It's fine, it's only a year old.
You know, it'll take me like 5 to 10 hours to complete. Like,
and you played this on Stadia?
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, it takes 5 to 10 hours to complete, maybe. Like, I never actually checked the times. But I was like, all right, so it's a really short game, but it's really peaceful. Basically, Spiritfarer is you play as the character who basically your job is to make people happy and give them their best time before you then take them to the doorway so they can go to the afterlife. So it's all about kind of doing odd jobs and doing things for these people, improving their moods, so you get them to the happiest they can be, and then they turn around to you and go, okay, I'm ready to go to the afterlife. And you drive them to this bridge, and you let them go. And it's really heartful, and really cute, and the art style is beautiful. This game was very long.
It was for you.
And I don't know whether that is just because it's me and all games take like twice as long as they're supposed to. But I really adored this. Like I found myself just getting lost in it. Like I would finish work and I'd be like, oh, well, I'll just load it up for like an hour or 2 or 3. And I'll just kind of, tend to my farm. And I'll get all the dishes that I need to be able to cook. And I'll make sure I've got them all. And I did every single thing this game had to offer. Like, I explored every inch of the map. I went onto every island. I got all of the items. I collected all of the... There's a book of, like, items that you can see during the game. I fished all the fish. Just because I found it really kind of... There was something really soothing about it. There was never too much challenge to it. And at that point in time, I felt I needed that kind of game. Something that was just really easygoing, never asked too much of me, and I could complete at my own pace. What did you think of it? Like, you saw bits of it.
It looks very relaxing. It looks, nothing stressful, which was good.
Yeah. Well, we always say...
For you.
We always say, I need to find the
anything
less
to make
stressful.
my life less stressful, which means making your life less stressful so you're less angry about things. Because I did notice there was a drop-off in the amount of complaining you did about everything in your life while you were playing it. But then you started complaining about some of the characters were, like, mean on the game.
Oh.
And then I was just like... I thought this game was trying to be nice, and now all of a sudden I've got to listen to you moan about bullies on a game.
What was really annoying, like...
Okay, here
fortunately, like, I was... So, there was about... Halfway through, I realised that, like, oh no, I'm going to get everything. Like, I'm going to look at the achievement list, and I'm going to just do everything I can.
Yeah.
One of the achievements is you have to make everyone, like, peak happiness before you let them go. The problem is you bring on 2 characters who are basically bullies, and while they're on your ship, everyone else can't reach peak happiness because if the bullies are happy, their mood is down. But I didn't realise that. Fortunately, I managed to kind of make it work anyway. But then there's another character as well who's basically this guy who is a serial cheater who... comes onto the ship, and like everybody who comes on, they have these kind of realizations about their life, and kind of they reminisce about the times they had. There's one who's basically her mind is going, and it's this really beautiful story of like you give her this last moment of clarity before you let her go, and it's really beautifully written. But this guy who's the cheater, like I don't know what he's like. I don't think he learns anything, and it really annoyed me because I'm like. I don't think you learn anything here, and I don't know why I understand why we're letting you go.
But you appreciate that not everyone in life learns a lesson.
No, but as I had
some people go to the grave being absolute tits.
I was like, but he basically treated it like don't worry, like everything's all good. I'm like, no, but you're a bad man. Like, even the bullies had some kind of redemptive arc.
Yeah, but, like, that this is the way that life goes.
Yeah, but it made me sad.
Yeah, bad people just live bad lives sometimes.
Yeah, but he shouldn't have got to be Spiritfarer. He should have been going to the Spirit Hell.
Well, maybe that's where he went.
Oh, no, he went into the stars, didn't he? Because he came in the little glinting star at the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but his was on fire. His was burning brighter. I've realised we haven't rated any of these games.
Oh, no, we haven't.
They're all wood plays, of course. We love them.
I like all games.
Coffee Shop Simulator, good. It was a good game.
There's one other game I played before we get onto
Is there?
the game. Yeah. So I didn't play it much. That's why you probably don't remember it. So I played Dungeons and Dragons: Dark Alliance with my brother.
Oh, yes.
Which was a game that basically came on Game Pass. And when it came on, we were like, okay, we're going to play this, and this will be our new game.
Mm-hmm.
We played it once, we never went back to it.
Mm.
So it's a game where you... what type of game is it?
It's like a team-up game.
Yeah, team beat 'em up.
Beat 'em up.
Mm-hmm.
Like Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah, a little bit. The way I looked at it was like, it's like Diablo, but bad. Because you've got like certain attacks like on your certain buttons. So like Y is this attack, X is this attack, and like you get more as you go along, and then you level up your stats with like the experience you get, which is like the Dungeons and Dragons sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is it loses. I think it's really hard. I've spoken about this before. It's really hard to capture the effect of Dungeons and Dragons, being a game that you kind of create yourself as you're sat around a table, and the stories that you remember are the adventures that you create as a table. And it's really hard to replicate that on, especially in a game, but also, with the film coming out, I think it's going to be tough to do it there as well, without it just being generic fantasy. And this is very much that. But also, like, it's so clunky as a game. Like, all of the moves seem to be like wading through treacle. And we were looking for all the secrets and stuff, and it was nice in the sense of I had a game that I was playing with my brother, and that was a nice time. But I wish it was a better game that we were playing.
Yeah,
because I was playing this and we got to the end of it, and in my head I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to come back to this game.
Yeah,
because I wanted this to be something that it isn't, and that is, I wanted it to play better, and I can get through like bad mechanics and stuff, like as long as you're having fun. But when the actual gameplay is like, so the leveling and stuff like that it's fiddly and it's frustrating, and the loot is it's not always a great loot system. But I can deal with all of that as long as like the actual combat and stuff like that is good. I'm trying to think of the words that I'd use. But basically the gameplay cycle, as long as that's working, like, I can do that.
Yeah.
It's the reason why Yakuza, despite being archaic and having things in there that are bad, the actual gameplay loop, that's the word phrase, the gameplay loop of Yakuza is something that I really enjoy. Like that, going around and just, like, I can play for hours of just walking around and just bumping into people and then just fighting them on the streets. And it doesn't do anything. Like, I'm not getting any further in the game. I'm just doing the same thing again and again. Because it's fun. The gameplay loop of Dark Alliance is bad. And it's not enjoyable. And therefore, it's not something I can just persevere with. And because it's not the game, I'm like, I really want to kind of get through and see what happens in this story. Because the story, like, it kicks off with something that, like, genuinely, like, I've played D&D, but it genuinely kicks off with something of being like, here is your story. And I'm like, I feel like I need to know more than what I've been given here. Like, you've just started me. Imagine somebody starts Lord of the Rings, but, like, it starts at the Battle of Helm's Deep. And you're like, hold on, what's happening?
Not a bad place to jump in.
Like,
exciting.
But you're like, how did we get here? Who are these people? And I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, but then you see the Urukai arrive and you're like, I get it.
And it's kind of like that. It kind of just starts in halfway through. It's mentioning people like certain dragons and stuff. I think people who are massively into this will be like, oh yeah, it's so-and-so. But for me, I was just like, I don't know. And to the point where, like, we then just didn't care about the story and we were kind of just jumping jumping ahead. So yeah, that's probably I wouldn't recommend.
What's interesting is the 2 times you've been negative on this podcast today, the start about Twitch and then just now, Audacity, the recording, has then said not responding, stopped for about 30 seconds, and then juddered to a start again. So I have no idea whether the recording is fucked or if it's just a case of...
It doesn't like negativity.
It doesn't like bad vibes.
Well, shall we talk then about... So the only segment that this episode actually has, which is Hurdo's been gaming.
Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
So it's just called homework.
Alex's homework. Set you the task last week. Well, not last week, last episode.
Yeah, I was going to say one last week, mate. I can barely remember you set it for me.
To play a game.
Mm-hmm.
And this game we decided would be, because of Resident Evil 8 coming out when we last recorded.
Yes.
To play Resident Evil 7, which you've had for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And had already played, in fairness.
But to play it, basically the rules are you have to play, 5 hours, did we say?
I think it differs. I mean, I've put 5 hours into it in the last couple of days. I have to say, it wasn't worth it. Look, so the problem with Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, or Biohazard Resident Evil 7, whatever it ended up being called, can't remember. The game itself is fine, and I understand what it's trying to do. My issue with it is, I think when you go to a first-person survival game, I lose most of my interest in it. Because this is then feeling exactly like Blair Witch, which was garbage. And that was truly an awful game, because it's just a walking simulator. We all know how to walk. Look, so Biohazard is essentially a first-person survival game more than it is a Resident Evil game, I feel. And that's fine. But again, it kind of feels like, it almost feels like, well, we want to take this in a new direction because everyone hated the last 2 Resident Evil games before this one. So we need to find a way to make this engaging and exciting to a new audience. Oh, we'll just make a different game then. All right, fair enough, whatever. I'm sure for the audience that it's intended for, this works exactly the way it should. But for me, I'm just like, well, the thing about Resident Evil was never that it was a first-person survival simulator. It was survival horror from a third-person perspective. It felt more like a film than it did a game. Yeah. The problem is when you put it into a first-person thing, I can't escape the fact that it just feels like it's a game. I get it. I get why you've done it, because it's a more popular genre now. And no one wants to play the old Resident Evils, except now that you've remade them, people actually really love them, and it turns out that they are quite popular. So, I don't know, Yeah,
I have an issue with, first-person games. For some reason, first-person games give me a headache. I quite like playing, over-the-shoulder character model, third-person. Even watching you play it yesterday, for however long you played it, I was in the room for half hour, and I was like, this is giving me a headache, because it was all very much, the colour palette is all the same. And then, what made me laugh is there was definitely a point where you went, oh, you're going to jump scare me now. Well, and then it happened.
Yeah, because you get the patterns exist in the game where you're just like, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen here. The thing, Resident Evil itself as a franchise was never necessarily about jump scares.
I don't know. They had those dogs jump through the window in one of them. And that's
scary. But aside from that, I can't think of anything that was jump scary in the original series. And then this just feels like it's so bland and by the numbers. You end up just going, and look, the colour palettes haven't been interesting in a lot of their games.
Yes.
And I'm just kind of like, well, what is this? Because everything just looks the same. I had to bump the brightness level. I'd set the brightness level to the level they told me to set it at, set it so that you can only just see the coin or whatever. But then you can't see shit on the level until you're in a place that is directly under a light bulb.
Yeah.
And then, so I ended up bumping the brightness right up. And then it just exposes how horrible everything looks because you've bumped the brightness up, so you've got this sort of white haze over everything. I mean, I'm sure that people liked it because everyone raved about it when it came out, and people raved about the sequel, the Resident Evil Village. I don't think I'd ever play Resident Evil Village now, knowing that this is the sort of genre they're going for. I'm just fundamentally not interested in it.
Do you think there's any kind of issue as well? So, for a lot of people, maybe like this is like horror for them. For somebody who's maybe who's watched a lot of horror, and because this obviously apes to a lot of like Texas Chainsaw.
I don't want to. I don't want to feel like I'm necessarily influenced by the fact that I would much prefer to be watching a horror film than playing a horror game, because I know that to be true, because I fundamentally don't like games. But that's the whole point of these episodes, is that what if maybe he did like games? The shame of it is I don't still. Basically is the problem. Maybe, I mean, there's stuff in it that is very Texas Chainsaw. There is stuff in it that sort of feels like any sort of grindhouse exploitation film from the 70s. But at the same time, I'm kind of playing it. I'm just like, it's not really doing that stuff very well, because it wants it to be a monster game as well. Yeah,
the interesting thing is, so from my understanding is this game changes up like halfway through and it becomes more of an action game. But I think the problem is if you don't vibe with that first part, you're never going to get to the second part. I think, the second part might be a bit more, say, like Resident Evil 4.
Well, I've just gone through a bit where I had to kill all these mold monsters. But there's like 10 of them, and I've not got that many bullets. So I kept ending up dying during it. And I managed to kill all of them eventually. But I was just kind of like, what was that? What was the point of that section? Because all you've done is just give me a load of mold monsters to fight. I don't know why I'm fighting them. I guess they're bad, but who knows?
You wanted to have a sit down.
They all wanted to kill me. I know that much because they did. But like, I don't know what the game is supposed to want me to think.
Yeah.
Because I just think I don't want to play this kind of Resident Evil game. Is what I think. So I don't know. It's like 5 different chainsaws, and they're all bad ones, and they're all broken out of house, spooky house.
Nice.
So yeah, I'd recommend it. It's a good game. What's my homework?
So I was looking, and I was like, okay, because I've given you Blair Witch, which you didn't really enjoy. I got the impression you weren't enjoying this. I was like, I saw a game on there that like it was on my recommended. I was like, it seems like the kind of game that I know you would like, which is F1 2020, but only the career mode.
Well, look,
I'm hoping there's a story to it.
Yeah, well, there usually is. F1 Career Challenge is kind of the progenitor of this stuff, and F1 Career Challenge didn't have any like cutscenes or anything. It was more just a case of you created a driver and then you had to pass your test and then work your way up from like I don't know, like a Jordan seat up to a Ferrari. Yeah. And that was interesting. I'll give it a go, but I really hate Formula One games because they're way too unforgiving of any mistakes you make. But okay, fine. I'll put 5 hours into the career mode of F1 2020.
Or alternatively, basically, because I was like, I want you to play the career mode.
Yeah.
Alternatively, there's one of the wrestling games we got somewhere.
That is true. But that requires hooking everything else up. Let's do F1.
I mean, you don't have to stream them. Like, you just need to plug in like the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. We have to hook up a different console, and that's a whole thing. I'll play your F1 game.
Yeah, you don't seem happy.
I'll play it. I wasn't necessarily happy playing Resident Evil 7.
I was there just like, maybe it's something he would enjoy. Apparently, I got this completely wrong.
We'll find out. Maybe I'll play Spiritfarer instead.
Yes.
I don't want to play Spiritfarer. I've already seen it. It's ruined for me now.
I'm sorry, I ruined that.
Yeah, you've ruined the end. Anyway, that's probably all we've got time for this week.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. What else you got to tell them?
Well, we normally
We told them about streaming.
Yeah.
What?
I was going to say that sometimes we have a gaming question, which you said, I've got a gaming question for us, but then...
Yeah, but then the gaming question was, when are we going to hold the gaming industry accountable for their actions? And that's too big of a question to get into 57 minutes into a podcast.
So instead of asking a gaming question, we'd say, if you've played
Here's a gaming answer.
Yeah.
Can I give a gaming answer?
Of course.
As soon as fucking possible. That's when we'll hold them accountable.
But, you know,
if you have a gaming question...
If you want to hold us accountable for any of our gaming opinions...
Absolutely, I will not be held accountable for anything I've said here on the podcast. I will claim that you used voice altering software. If you've got a question or an answer, then tweet at us at Dinosaur Man 15 or join us on our live stream on Twitch at Dinosaur Man Pod, where we will this week be playing, what was the game? Dead by Daylight?
Maybe Until Dawn.
Different game.
Yeah, different game.
What? I always think they're the same game.
No.
Until Dawn.
Yeah.
It's a horror movie, guys, because of Shocktober coming up.
Oh, yeah.
That's
still...
I'm going to be playing... Is that still happening? Of course it's still happening, dude.
No, didn't I say it's like a month away? Should we hold off on playing a horror game until October?
Oh, man. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, doesn't it?
But also...
People will probably watch it more if we stream it in October.
Yeah. Well, you'll see. If you join us on Wednesday, you'll see what we're playing.
No, I think we will just play that now.
Probably.
And then we'll play Scary Game in October. Because this isn't going to be a scary game. This is quick time events. Yeah. They're not scary. As always, Johnny Neves did the theme song. This time it was, Spiritfarer. So it was all sort of gentle harp music and shit. What else have we got to do?
Thank you, Alex, for hosting.
Nah, don't think I should be thanked for what I've done today. I'll thank you. I think you've done a good job. You've spoken a lot because you played a lot of games. Next time, either we don't leave it as long between episodes, which was my fault, or you don't play as many games.
Well, the thing is...
you had too many games.
Well, I spoke about this before, being like...
you got into a weird gaming kick.
I'm glad that, I don't do gaming weekly, a gaming podcast weekly.
Oh, 100%.
Because I don't complete games that fast, and, I don't get a chance to properly play them. At least doing it, in this thing, I'm actually able to go, okay, I fully played something. But then you don't really have time to kind of... Because of playing...
And the thing is, it's only the hardcore nerds who listen to these episodes. But that's good, because, we get the hardcore nerds from the Nintendo official magazine gaming podcast as well. They listen in as well.
But no, thank you everyone for joining us. Next week is news and reviews. Until next time.
Goodbye.
Beep, boop, beep.
That was professional.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Bye.